From news and views, issues and opportunities, we'll have in-depth conversations with decision makers to find out what they know and what they think. I'm Rico Hizon, inviting you to join the exchange because your business is our business. The Philippines can now engage in the world's largest free trade agreement. Senators ratified the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership in a nearly unanimous vote over a year after the country signed onto it. Industries now have opportunities to venture in more markets in the Asia-Pacific, and consumers are seen to benefit from cheaper imported options amid soaring prices triggered by supply chain issues. But worries remain for farmers and fisherfolk still on their decades-old call for further support as the agricultural sector grapples with falling productivity and rising input costs. Will the borderless market benefit all or just a few? The long wait is over for groups supporting the country's official membership to the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Let's now have an exchange with Senate President Migs Zubiri. Migs, thank you so much for joining us. Which sectors will mainly benefit from this ratification of RCEP?
Our manufacturing sectors will take advantage of this. Our export sectors, exporters of furniture, garments, we need to jumpstart our garment sector. Of course, technologies such as electronics, semiconductors, and many, many others, including agriculture. Believe it or not, despite what a lot of our friends from the agriculture industry are saying, agriculture will be one of those who will benefit deeply due to the open trade agreements now with China, with Korea, with Japan, particularly, for example, in durian. The durian exports, we can now export with less tariffs as compared to our ASEAN neighbors who are already within the RCEP partnership. Durian, pineapple, canned pineapples, pineapple juice, banana chips, and other agricultural products, including tuna and sardines. Believe it or not, tuna was not being given preferential tariff treatments by countries such as Japan and Korea. And so now, with this RCEP inclusion of the Philippines, we can now bring all these canned sardines, canned tuna to these countries with less tariff to be more competitive.
When will ordinary Filipinos feel the real impact of RCEP? It means more jobs, increased incomes, and better lives for all our kababayans.
Siguro, if I may, Rico, I always say this: the proof in the pudding, rather, is in the eating. And let us just compare ourselves to the countries that have already joined RCEP within the ASEAN. In 2022, when Vietnam joined RCEP, their exports increased by 16.4% to $108 billion. It's reached up to 16.4%. Thailand's exports to RCEP countries reached 140 billion or 7.1% increase from the year prior. Cambodia's garments industry earned $10 billion in just the first 3 quarters of 2020, or 24% year-on-year increase due to joining RCEP. So imagine all the other industries that will be set up, and of course that will be benefiting from this. More jobs, more foreign direct investments. Under a study by Dr. Coraraton, he's looking at within 8 years that we're going to have an increase of 1.4 million jobs, and it's broken down as follows: 308,000 jobs for agriculture, 77,000 jobs in industries, and 991,000 jobs in services alone. Imagine 1.4 million new jobs. And of course, the increase in GDP. There's a study done by Dr. Kimba. If we participate in RCEP, there's a possibility of a 2% growth. No, that is the study. 2% growth in GDP. And also, if we do not join RCEP, there is a possibility of a negative 26% decrease in GDP. So we can't be isolationist, Rico. That's the bottom line.
Will RCEP also help our micro, small, and medium enterprises, which comprises a bulk of our economy, and expand its market access?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you raised that issue because RCEP is one of the only few trade partnerships or trade agreements that actually puts a full section on MSMEs, on micro, small, and medium enterprises. So many other countries are utilizing the MSMEs for exports towards ASEAN. We are poised to do the same. And this time, because of RCEP, the agreement is really about establishing, Rico, clear, stable, and predictable rules in doing trade and investments in the region. So that it'll be more convenient and competitive. It's like the ease of doing business for exports throughout the region. So this will gain a lot of advantage for our micro, small, and medium enterprises. You know, whether you're a basket weaver from Malabon or you're a shoemaker in Marikina, you can now, it's easier for you now to trade your goods in these countries, open up new markets for you, and it'll be easier also because they're going to establish an RCEP secretariat. Everything will be done online. It'll be much more efficient.
So are we also likely to see more multinational companies investing in the country as an alternative site for their manufacturing facilities? Because a lot of question marks from foreign investors is, of course, you mentioned one of them, ease of doing business, and of course, transparency, good governance, and another thing is very expensive power rates in the Philippines, Migs.
Well, Rico, one of the biggest opportunities of RCEP is market accessibility. I mean, all the things that you mentioned, of course, can be handled by the laws that we passed locally. But if we did not join RCEP, we wouldn't have any market accessibility. So I'll just give you an example, Rico, and I'm happy to announce this. There was a group of Americans that came over last week. Their company is called EVT, and this is electric vehicles. One of the largest electric vehicle manufacturers in the United States. It's an all-American company headed by Phil Aldridge, and it's a multi-billion-dollar company. And they were looking at locating in Singapore with a manufacturing hub in Johor, which is right beside Singapore. And I was able to convince them to hold on to that because we met in the United States recently. I told them, wag muna ituloy yan. Kung pwede, dito na lang muna kayo sa bansa, tignan nyo, come here, come over. So he came over last week, and he was so excited on how we have a great advantage of the U.S. language, the American, or rather English language, and he also saw Clark, and he was able to meet with the trade secretary. And the icing on the cake for him was that we were going to join RCEP because although it's an American company that will put up on the manufacturing hub, hopefully in Clark, he'll be able to sell all these e-vehicles, which are e-buses, electric trucks, electric forklifts, etc. Sell it to all the areas in the region because he has an order right now for 2,000 electric school buses for Singapore. And because of RCEP, it can be done. He can do it here. He can relocate it here rather than very expensive real estate in Singapore. So he's happy to that we're going into the RCEP agreement. These are just concrete examples of foreign direct investment that will come into the country because of our entry to RCEP.
Thank you so much for this free trade exchange, Senate President Migs Zubiri. And now here's a rundown of the week's top business stories. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas reports hot money inflows netted over $292 million in January, zooming past the nearly $93 million tallied last December. National Economic and Development Authority has prepared thousands of projects worth 15 trillion pesos for the approval of President Bongbong Marcos next month. And U.S. billionaire Elon Musk's Starlink internet is now available in the Philippines. It offers a download speed of 100 to 200 megabits per second. And straight ahead on the exchange, where your business is our business. What's next for farmers and the agriculture sector after the ratification of RCEP? We have an exchange with the Federation of Free Farmers. And what is RCEP like for countries already part of it? We'll be speaking with the chairman of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce in Industry, right here on CNN Philippines. News you can trust.